As we check in on our seedlings this week, our plants are getting definitely taller. Instead of just those 2 leaves they started with, they're getting 4. And these little seedlings are the seedlings of a very tall plant called the Mexican sunflower. Its genus is TITHONIA. Because of this, I'm going to need to thin out the extra plants. This bothers some people sometimes. Bothers me sometimes. But if I don't take out one, neither one of them will make it. So this process is called thinning out, and it leaves enough resources for one of our plants to do well. Enough soil, enough sunlight, and enough water. So that's the beginning. We'll check some of our other plant starts. Now those previous 2 Mexican sunflowers were in my east window, which doesn't have the best light. These 3 are in my south window, which does have the best light, but it just goes to show. This has a plant that is not a Mexican sunflower. This has no seedling at all, but here we have one. So don't be discouraged if your seed doesn't come up. Sometimes these things happen, and we just replant. We talked about thinning plants out, and this is what happens if you don't. This cilantro was planted far too many seeds in one place. And it's what we call leggy now, like a leg, leggy. It's very tall and not very strong. So it's reaching, all these little sprouts are reaching for the light, and there are just too many of them in there. These are cilantro sprouts too, so they don't need to go to waste. Sprouts in a restaurant are just these tiny beginnings of plants, and I'm gonna go ahead and eat this one now because the flavor of cilantro is very good. Check out that tiny leaf, you can see its beginnings. We have a tomato seedling that's doing quite well. And a sunflower of the HELIOPSIS genus is doing well too. My only concern here is we may have started it too early. In our part of Ohio, sunflowers don't generally get planted outside until after the middle of May. So if I can keep this one alive for 3 more weeks, it should be okay. I just hope it doesn't get too tall for its pot. I'm finally looking at our last area. This bean plant is also getting tall, but I wouldn't say this is leggy. This particular bean is a pole bean, which means it grows as a vine. This one will be just fine. Again, I have to keep it inside for about 3 more weeks until the middle of May, and then I'll transplant it outside to the garden. Same with these plants. The ones with the little rounded leaves are basil plants, and the thin ones that look like grass are green onions. And the last one we'll look at today is our marigolds. You can see that they've grown leaves beyond their first 2 leaves, and they have these little serrated edges. They're starting to get the shape of typical marigold leaves. They're leaning in, and to be safe, I probably need to thin these out too. I count 4 plants. Probably need to get it down to 2 plants. So gently pull one out. And for now, I'll leave it at 3. Hello, this is Mr. Trout again. So I know that you've been learning a lot about caterpillars this week. And caterpillars are part of the life cycle of the butterfly. Now, everything has a life cycle. People do, animals like butterflies do, and so do plants. I want to look at a few different life cycles here with you, and then we're going to have a study project for the rest of our week together. So using these models here, we can learn a little bit about the life cycle of a butterfly. Can you see the caterpillar already? The beginning of the life cycle happens when a butterfly lays its eggs on the underside of a leaf. Those eggs are represented by these little yellow ball-shaped items here. As they hatch out comes the tiny little caterpillar, and you can see a hole in this leaf that represents where the caterpillar was eating it. The more they eat, the bigger they get. And as the caterpillar gets bigger and bigger, you can begin to see more and more detail. This is the caterpillar of a monarch butterfly, and they only eat milkweed leaves. Once they're big enough, they climb up a plant and find a branch. And when they're up there, they spin what's called a chrysalis, or a cocoon. This is their pupa stage, which is the stage where they change from a caterpillar to a full-grown butterfly. After a period of time, week to 10 days, give or take, the chrysalis will open up and out will come the adult butterfly. This is a model of a monarch butterfly. And that's the life cycle, and that's the role the caterpillar plays in that. Now this diagram here shows the different stages of a plant life cycle. This is a bean plant. You see the pictures on the left and they're numbered. And on the right there's a word bank that your adult can help you label this picture with. Starting up here with number 1, I'm going to add some arrows to this diagram to show how the stages progress the correct direction. So these arrows show that from picture 1 we'll grow into picture 2 and continue to grow picture 3. Let's look close there. I see leaves and flowers and stems. Picture 4 has leaves and green beans on it. Picture 1 looks like the bean pod opened up with those beans inside. I remember that beans are seeds. Here's a young plant. What's the name for a young plant? Picture number 2. So for your exit ticket today, take a look at this diagram with somebody older that can help you. Label 1 in picture 2, picture 3, and picture 4 with the right words from the bank. You can just answer in the comments section by typing number 1 and the word that goes with it, number 2 and the word that goes with it, and the same for numbers 3 and 4. Have a great weekend and keep on growing.